Are we ready?
Also-
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Pour yourself in blood.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock. And we are breaking our records every time we have a meeting and getting them done faster and faster. But we have a few things tonight that are on the agenda. But we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. And we have asked Larry Black, who happens to be a neighbor in my neighborhood and some of the council's neighborhood, to come tonight and would he honor us with doing the invocation. So if you would all stand.
Father, what a privilege it is to bow in your presence and to commit this time to you. Lord, I know from your scriptures that you tell us that you raise up those that will govern and care for communities. Lord, with that understanding, I commit the mayor and the city council to you. Lord, that they would govern wisely, and Lord, that you would be pleased with what takes place. Lord, I pray your peace along the grove. Lord, we have seen it so often, your care. And Lord, others who have not been as fortunate, so Lord, we give you thanks. Thanks for your care. Thanks for your watch care over us. And Lord, I pray that you guide this meeting tonight. Lord, that you be pleased that, Lord, there will be wisdom expressed. And Lord, at the end of the meeting, you say it's been good. They've done well. So Father, I commit them to this grace now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Larry. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to go ahead and do the roll call, and Susanna Gilpin is in attendance, Rachel Davis is here, Maxine McClanahan is in attendance, Erica Miles is here, I am here, we have Shay here, and Joe with us also, and our city clerk, Kimberly Whitlow. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to make a couple of changes to the agenda before we get started. And under the consent agenda, we're going to have the first reading for several ordinances and a resolution that were approved previous to this administration, but were never signed off on. And so that's in the consent agenda. One's for open records, officiant, the parliamentary procedures, record custodian, and clerk's duties, and the code of ethics. And we're just doing the reading, trying to get them on the books. At the next meeting, we'll do the second reading, do the signing, and put those in the books. Also, we need to remove IT needs. We have decided to give that a little bit more thought before we make a decision on it. And then in the middle of the meeting, we will be holding a public hearing on a variance request. We have advertised for the public hearing, so we're in compliance with the state laws. And we are going to be adding on, under old business, the ordinance to provide for temporary or emergency housing that was first read at the last work session. And that is all the changes that I have. And I have them all written down.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any?
Mayor, I want to make a couple of minor changes when we get to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Do we need to move that out, or can I just make it within my motion?
You can make it within your motion. Okay. I'll try to speak up too. I have a tendency to start loud and then get really quiet. I've been told. So with that being said, if there's nobody else, let's go ahead and is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? No? Okay. Should we do that now, Jay?
Did we need
The
to?
consent agenda, if she needs to change something?
I know we want to keep the meeting short.
No,
If we need-
okay.
If we need a discussion on an item in the consent agenda, I would recommend pulling that.
Can I just put what I want change within the, it's just a couple of minor changes to the minutes. So do I need to pull those minutes out?
Yes, I would. If we're amending the minutes, we need to pull them out and talk about them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Then,
So we need to do that now.
You can approve the agenda as is when we get to the consent. You
Okay.
can pull it out and
Okay. So all in favor of approving the agenda?
I,
Okay, everybody's in favor? Let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve all that is there except the December 14th meeting minutes, which I have 2 changes.
And you'd like to pull that out? Right?
Either can I make the change within this motion or do I have to pull?
my recommendation, we move to new business and we can make
Okay.
the changes there.
Yes, to pull them.
All right, so we will move the December 14th meeting minutes to new business under the Walnut Court variance. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? No. Okay. Okay, the consent agenda has been approved. We'll go down to committee reports and school involvement with myself. I'm still working with that. And I am so good at this, I even brought the principal to give this report today. Mr. Allen, thank you for being here today.
Yes, ma'am.
And Karen. I really don't have a ton to report. I haven't been into a school council meeting, and I have been extremely busy with the happenings going on at City Hall. So I apologize for not having a report on the schools, although I do know a lot of kids are sick, a lot of bus drivers are sick. And let's just get through this and hope for the spring to get here quicker than later and bring us some nice weather so everybody can heal. For the DDA, Erica, are you still giving those updates right now?
Rachel will be doing that now.
Rachel's doing it now. Okay. Do you have anything for us today?
We met on January 29th for our first meeting of the year. We really didn't change a whole lot except for Erica's leaving us and I am filling in her role as secretary treasurer. Russ will remain as our chair and Sarah Touchier as our, Russ Butcher as our chair, in case anybody doesn't know who that is. And Sarah Touchier as our vice chair. And then we went through all the committees and made some new joins to some of the committees that we have. And we're just excited for a new year to begin.
Great, thank you. At this point, if anybody has any kind of comment or would like to make a statement of any kind, you're welcome to do that. If you're coming to talk about the variance request in the public hearing, this is not the time for that, just in case you're wondering. But if anybody else has anything they want to ask or add, or now's the time to come on up. And if you would, when you get to the podium, please state your name and your address.
Lindsay Allen, Guthrie Cemetery Road, right down there. It's my address. Most of the time, my wife will tell you. I figure while I was here as principal of Walnut Grove High School, I just want to say thank you. We unfortunately had an accident last week where an officer was struck right in front of the school in an area that's dimly lighted. But I can't tell you, because of the work you've done with working with us and listening to the concerns we've had with the lighting, you have done such a great job of improving. We do have a lot of kids who walk, but the lighting is much improved. But I just wanted to give you an example. This is what we were talking about, and I want to say thank you for taking action and not waiting for something like this to happen. It could have been much more tragic. She's improving, but it was in one of those areas where it's still dimly lit. But I just want to say thank you for taking action. I know you're going to take more action. We want to make this community proud, but we want to keep our kids safe and our adults safe. And I hate to tell you, it's not the kids who aren't safe driving. It's the big people. And, but the lighting, particularly for our officers, I look back there, officer over there, we have 2 officers out there every day. In the mornings, the sun's not up, we don't get going. And, but I want to say thank you for what you do, and just let you know that it does help. Unfortunately, we did have an accident just last week, but I wanted you, and I called Mayor Moncrief just to let her know so she was aware, but I'm sure she's relayed just our appreciation. But just, any other improvements you guys want to do in that area, we certainly would appreciate, particularly when it comes to the lighting, because this is the dimmest lit school I've ever been around. And it's just a lot of movement, particularly in the dark parts of the morning and in the evening. But anyways, I just want to say thank you for what y'all are doing and your support and your partnership with us. I appreciate you very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
I do.
As a parent, go right ahead.
Where was the officer hit at? It was at, near the
Park
roundabout?
Street and Guthrie Cemetery Road, right there. So
Okay.
what had happened was, we had one car coming down Park Street going towards the roundabout, and one going towards, Guthrie Cemetery, one turned in front of the other and hit, all right? And the officer sits right there in her car, right there waiting for, the traffic count to pick up. So when the accident happened right in front of her right there, she drove her car over to block it, okay? When she got out of her car and she was directing traffic, a person was coming down Park Street, took a right going up Guthrie Cemetery and hit her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she wasn't in her car, she was out. And, and with facial lacerations, hit her head, had a concussion. Yeah, so it was a big scene, to be honest with you. So,
I wanted to let you know, after our phone call, and it is on the next work session, it's on the agenda for that, and I let some of the members know that there was an accident. But I got on the phone to the DOT, talk about speed limits in the area. Unfortunately, being able to lower them out on main roads is tough. But I also talked to him about, when we were at our conference last time, there are movable signs that show you the speed and the solar lit. I also spoke with another mayor, and he has switched out all his lights in his city to the LED lights, which are much brighter and more cost efficient.
yes, ma'am.
And so I have the contact for that also. So we are going to be talking about it and try and light this place up
Yes, ma'am.
as much as we possibly can. We don't want that type of thing happening to anybody.
No, and it was an unfortunate accident. It was in that area there, and, it was an accident.
Yeah.
More light would help, just to be, but that's kind of one of those areas right there where she got, was hit.
Yeah.
So just FYI. But hey, I appreciate y'all so much. I really do. So thank you for working with us and partnering. We really appreciate it.
Thanks. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Oh, Billy.
Yeah, I just want to take a quick minute to introduce a new project.
And would you state your name
I
and address,
would,
please,
Billy
sir?
Coleman, I'm the owner of Dial Farm, the enclave of Dial Farm, and like the principal, I want to thank this current administration and council for all of your hard work. I know it's tough, but there is progress being made, and we appreciate, I know the public and also private business, we really appreciate the effort that's being put in to get us where we need to be. So I wanted to just introduce this. We couldn't get on the agenda tonight for the architectural approval. Hopefully we'll be on the agenda at the next meeting to be able to get this architectural approval. But this is just a architectural of the buildings that are being proposed to go up 138 parallel with Highway 138 at Dial Farm. So this is a rendering, and it's kind of what we've talked about now for the last 7 years as far as having the old building look very similar to John's Supermarket and the corridor going into the city of Monroe. So if y'all have any comments, feel free obviously to reach out to me, but this is what we're thinking. It's very similar to the existing newest building in the city there where Domino's and Subway used to be, but just an updated version of it. So hopefully we can again get on the agenda and get some buildings going over there real soon.
This is out on 138 building,
Yes, ma'am. At the enclave.
Phase 4, right?
kind of
Yeah, track 4.
beyond the corner of Forester Cemetery.
Yeah, up the hill from Forester Cemetery, you got the gas station side, which this is very similar. I don't know if y'all.
Is it on the other side of the entrance? into
Yeah,
Young-
it's
Okay,
at the entrance.
on the Monroe side.
On the Monroe side of the
Okay.
entrance. Okay.
Thank you.
How many, How many buildings do you, is it just one building?
We're anticipating 2 on track 4 and probably 2 on track 5. And a
Side
few,
by side or behind one another?
no, they'll be all side by side. Hopefully a QSR on track 3. Not ready to make that announcement, but we've invited them down to meet the city and get our final approval on QSR for track 3, and then this on 4 and 5, and then we've got 6 that we can either do another QSR or we can do retail.
For those who don't know, what is the QSR?
Quick service restaurant,
Thank you, Billy.
Dairy Queen.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Billy.
thank you, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Everybody keeps popping up.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
We're going to go ahead and go on to old business, and the next thing on the agenda is credit card statements. The most recent credit card statement has been given to all of the council members. And are there any comments or discussions or questions or anything about that? Did everybody?
Did we decide how often we're getting those? I know we discussed it, okay.
We talked about that, and I think the consensus was we were going to be getting them monthly.
Okay.
Right.
That's fine, and Eastway was fine with me.
Okay. Okay.
And another thing on the credit cards while we're on there.
Yes.
There was an issue of lost receipts. Has that all been resolved?
It has been resolved.
Have we put in any
Yes, we
stopgap
have.
things
Well,
from happening again?
what we have done is we have decided to separate Public Works from the main city credit card. So Public Works has their own credit card now, and they'll be keeping track of theirs.
Haven't they always had it?
They've had their own card, but it's been on the city credit card, where there's 3 actual user cards, but it's all on one statement. Now, we will be getting 2 different statements once we get that set up, which will happen next week. And then our Public Works manager will be responsible for that, and he is all on board with doing that. And also, we have put in place that if there is a missing receipt, it must be accounted for either by going and getting it, a copy of it, or filling out documentation. And as we work on the handbook, which we're going to be discussing at the next work session, we will also be going over the policy and creating that.
Also, a missing receipt could be, it was turned in and lost.
It could be.
What happens then if it's turned in and lost? Is there something that shows that Public Works actually turned in the receipt? Are they scanning these or?
Well, that's something that's been
Doing
discussed
copies.
with Public Works and everybody who has a credit card. That is a good idea when you get a receipt, is to take a picture of it. And then if you have handed it in, then you have a record of it.
And they'll still keep the sewer spending and Public Works spending separate?
Of course. Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Let's go on to code enforcement. I know we discussed it briefly at the work session. I think everybody was in the same state of mind about that, so I wanted to bring it to this meeting to make a formal motion on what we are going to do as a city with code enforcement. We discussed it, and we all felt, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, that paying $90 an hour for code enforcement with very few results was not in the best interest of the city or our citizens. And so what I'd like to do today is ask for a motion. We discussed about canceling our agreement or our relationship with Bureau Veritas in the code enforcement arena and moving on to hiring somebody part-time for the city, somebody who's in-house who can also help with a lot of permitting and zoning questions. And so if anybody has a motion about what we can do, we'll go ahead and entertain it at this time.
I'll make a motion that we cancel our contract with Bureau Veritas as in the code enforcement and put an ad in the paper to hire code enforcement in-house.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Could we also post our job listing elsewhere, not just in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will be getting recommendations from GMA
That's what I was.
on where to
thinking.
go. Yes.
Madam Mayor, there's a GMA sponsored one. What is it?
It's the
called?
GLGA
Yeah,
is a good place to advertise that, and it's free.
We spoke with Sherry Bailey at our budget workshop that we just did, and she had recommended that we put things on there also. So yes, we will be putting it in lots of
Do I
places.
need to amend my motion?
No.
Other than that.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Nobody. Okay. We will move on to the ordinance to provide for temporary emergency housing. Jay, if you would.
yes.
Thank you.
We spoke of this at the work session, and there was a couple of revisions that you all had then, and then Ms. McClanahan had some edits as well that I incorporated and sent back to you all. The main changes from the last version you saw at the work session and this version was extending, the mayor's allowed to give 180 days that they can live in temporary housing before it has to come back to council. Ms. McClanahan said, well, if it's outside the 180 days, what do we do? So I added one sentence at the end of subsection C there that says, if the next voting meeting is outside of the 180 days allowed, the mayor may extend it to the next meeting. So if it's 189 days, you can extend it there. Those were the two big changes. Is there any questions on this?
No.
All right.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I make a motion, we approve the ordinance. Is that,
Yes.
okay. Because they said we're on this one. That our attorney changes for it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, great. Can we move along? The next thing on the agenda is the variance, and what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to open up a public hearing, and it has been advertised properly. And in the hearing, we're going to initially hear from Joe Walter with a brief description of the variance request. And then we will hear for and against. So,
And I put a sign-in sheet up here for the public hearings. It's something a lot of other communities do, just to have a record of who is spoken. And if anybody who comes up and speaks, if you'll please sign it and leave your name and address, and then we'll leave that record with the clerk. But just to bring you back up to speed, we discussed this at the work session. There's an application before the city to request a variance based on hardship of placing a used manufactured house within the city in the Walnut Court neighborhood of Forest Glen. It's coming before you because the age and size of the manufactured house as it currently considered does not meet any of the relief that's granted through Senate Bill 213. If it was a new manufactured house, it would, they could just get a building permit and go. The applicants, when they started the process, were under the impression that it was still in Walton County, and they were able to go through the process and obtain a permit for Walton County. And in the middle of that process, it was discovered that that had been annexed into the city, and that they got a refund on their permit from Walton County, and they could express it more in a little bit clearer. So, and then when it was discovered, then the city put a stop work on it, and then there was discussion back and forth about what to do, and then they filed a variance claiming a hardship, and so they presented an application which they've since modified and added there were some questions that came out in the work session which they addressed, and they certainly can provide a little bit more detail on their process. Because the city has treated similar cases before with a variance, if council chooses to act upon this, then the variance would be to allow used manufactured house to be placed or to remain on the site. And then if there were stipulations that council wished to ask or to provide, you would have to do that in any motions to do so if you chose to approve it. But first, certainly, staff, I didn't really do a recommendation on this other than just trying to lay out the facts. There were a lot of questions about what's, will they make modifications to it? And it's, as we all know, it's sitting there, and you may have had a chance to go and see it, but 99% of the time, and there will probably be other requests for manufactured housing in the city, this will be addressed through the Senate Bill 213 provisions, where they can which allows new manufactured housing to replace houses that are either old or damaged or destroyed for fire or just beyond livable. So you may not have too many more of these, but it's good that we're going through the process. And Planning Commission did listen to the presentation, that didn't have a quorum, so they could not render a recommendation. And for future variances will come, unless I direct it differently, variances normally come straight to council. So we would direct those to you all for your considerations. Rezonings and map amendments and all that would go to Planning Commission. But unless there's any introductory questions from me, I think it would be certainly worthwhile to listen to the applicant.
I do have one question, Joe, and
Yes.
that is, time frame for if we require some modifications, and of course we've discussed those and they've answered that they would do some of the modifications. Do we put time constraints on that? Or can we, if necessary?
Well, if you could, but if a variance is granted, the end result of a variance being granted would be tied to a building permit that the city would issue.
Right.
And that the building permit, your code on buildings would have a time frame
Okay.
on any activity, and they could not get a certificate of occupancy and live in there unless all the building code commitments were met, plus these other, any stipulations, and the building inspector would just need to know those. It would be if it was any zoning conditions, for instance, Mr. Coleman or the gas station, they need to know that it's got to look like what y'all approved before it gets the CO. So this will be treated similarly.
Okay.
And if they don't progress per the building code, then they have to come and get another permit or renew it until they get it completed.
And in this case, just if they did not for some reason, and I'm certainly not assuming that they would take that route, but things happen sometimes to people. If for some reason they did not comply within that building time, since it was inadvertently brought on the property before it should have been, before it was approved, what is our recourse as a city if nothing is done in the time frame? Or do we need to stipulate that, is I guess what I'm asking.
Well, I would suggest, without having read I know in certain zoning cases, there are sometimes provisions for clawback or reversal. Variances may not be, but I would think that, and our esteemed attorney could pass on some of that, but I think that if a decision was made to approve it, there could be a time frame that a permit needed to be applied for properly, and then they would have the normal course of building to get it done.
Right.
And setting a manufactured house and getting it ready for occupancy is a lot different than with a standard site-built house.
Right.
So there's very likelihood that within, under 6 months, it would be up and done. But I mean, you could place on that the city has the right to reconsider that decision if substantial progress is not made, if they don't pull a permit, so forth and so on.
It could also be a code enforcement violation if you're putting a stipulation on that property. And so while it's not in the bigger code, they are violating a city condition on that property.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Come on up.
And if you would, go ahead and state your name and your address, okay?
Hi, yes, so my first name Janet, last name Toledo. My address is 2989 Gavin Place in Duluth, Georgia, 30096. So I drove like an hour to be here. So I am going to help my sister-in-law, and I've been communicating with Mr. Joe Walters through email back and forth in regards to the situation. I'm going to look at my notes because I'm not from here. So we would just, I guess the ideal situation was for the variance to be approved and allow Yolanda Toledo to have the mobile home with, have her approved with the building, having the mobile home, up to condition, to comply with the city's requirements. I think that's where the situation where we're being stuck at. That's the second problem. The first issue was that she originally came to Walnut Grove to get permits, and the city told her it doesn't belong here. You need to go to Walton County. So she pulled all the appropriate permits, the demolition permit, she pulled the planning permit through Walnut County, is it right, Walton County, and it was approved there. But once the mobile home was placed there, 2 days later, I was speaking to Mr. Joe, so Mr. Joe, he was stating that it did not belong to the county, it belonged to the city. And so, the main issue was that she never received notice that it didn't belong to the county and now it belonged to the city. So she did try to get the proper permits in order to be compliant. There was just a confusion somewhere along the way between Walton County and Walnut Grove. So here we are trying to get this approved. And the only recommendation that was done with Joe was to fill out the variance application.
Can we ask questions now, or we wait till close?
I would allow them to give their presentation if anyone speaks for it or against it, and then close the hearing, and then you can ask the questions I know y'all want to ask.
Okay. Are you all set? Are you done?
I am.
Okay.
So I listed our two main concerns. There's just the confusion between where the mobile home belonged to, and to, hopefully get the variance approved, and, we can move forward with building permits and getting everything into compliance.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody who
Oh, sorry.
would like to speak in favor of the variance, or is there anybody who would like to speak against the variance? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing now, and we will resume our regular meeting. And at this point, council, if you have any questions of the requesting people for the variance, you can, if you would, go ahead and stay up here.
Oh.
Go ahead and ask your questions, okay? All right, anybody?
Okay, let me just ask a couple. I certainly understand you plan. I looked at all the paperwork. I saw your original application. And we certainly don't want to make a hardship on anyone, but of course we want to do what is right for the city to do. This would be occupied by the owner, if I understand correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then y'all were in agreement to, from my understanding, what I saw, make the changes that we would request, which included the 2 porches, I think a skirting and some other minor things.
Yes, that is correct. And the roof pitch.
Right, the roof pitch. And those are things that even if you had not gone through the other process, if you had asked for a variance for an older mobile home to come in, or maybe a newer one that didn't quite meet everything, we would still require those. So those are not things that we're asking for in addition to, those are things that would have been put on our requirements. So, the difference is that it is an older mobile home.
Yes, and I think the problem lied where she went, when she was over at Walton County, and she got all the permits, they did not place any restrictions, unfortunately. If they had the same restrictions as Walnut Grove, then you know, we wouldn't be in this disheartening situation, but she's invested a lot of time and money trying to, you know, just get a property there. And I mean, let's not talk about the cleanup from having to clean up that property, so.
And y'all are comfortable that you can financially do what you need to do to get it done in whatever the time frame is required?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, more so for Jay. When this was an island that was brought into the city, these property owners were notified multiple times that these properties were being brought into the city, correct?
As well as the county and the state.
I have them both right here, that were sent to your address on Walnut Court. The owner's address on Walnut Court. The notification came from our attorney, saying that it was a property within the city. So if nobody's living there, and you guys aren't checking your mail there, then there's no way you would have seen the notifications.
So, I think they mentioned that, I guess FedEx was delivering, but they never received any type of notification, and they were there pretty often, cleaning up every single weekend. And they didn't receive any, and nothing was ever delivered to them.
Yeah. It was sent to them,
I'm
no,
certain,
right?
yeah, we have,
There's multiple times.
Yeah, we have-
There are some.
we have the confirmation that it was delivered and
And
whatnot.
this would have been.
It was October 13th and October 21st of last year.
Last year or 2022?
22, sorry, you're right, 22, October 22.
You said October 22?
I
¿Por
just,
qué lo mandaron dos veces?
Es lo que ellos me dicen en el City Hall, pero yo nunca recibí nada, así como me dejaron el papel en la mobile home, no quieren dejar el papel en el buzón, pero nunca recibí nada.
So she's stating the same thing. She said they never received anything.
no, it's
Again,
okay.
Your Honor, I don't know what to say.
It's neither here nor there. It was mailed, it was delivered. She may not have received it, and we understand that.
But she also stated that she went to City Hall in Walnut Grove for permits and was sent to the county.
Absolutely right.
So if City Hall, if we didn't even know, how can we doubt that they knew?
Right, that was a previous administration, I can't speak to that, but you're right, there was a mistake made by the city. You're absolutely right. What is the timeline? If this is approved, what is the timeline for doing the repairs and the improvements and whatnot?
That's a good question. ¿Verdad? Dice, está preguntando cuál es, y cuánto tiempo más o menos tú piensas que van a terminar de hacer todos los cambios.
Los cambios para arreglar la...
Para arreglar, ajá. Poner los porches, el techo, todo eso. ¿Cuánto tiempo se refiere? ¿3 meses, 6 meses, 1 año?
Nosotros pusimos 1 año, pero pues ellos lo pueden hacer lo más pronto posible.
She would like to request a year, but she says that it would be less than.
To do all of the. How long does a permit usually last for, Joe? Do you know?
Usually it's 6 months, but I don't have the code, but of course, the time frame doesn't start till you actually pull the permit. Now, I will say, just to kind of clarify, is they did request a permit from the city back in August, and then I rejected it because it didn't meet your criteria, which is what started it. So they did attempt to rectify that, but that's when we got to that. But if the permit was granted, as long as they were making substantial progress on it, it would go until they get it completed. If work isn't done, then generally the building inspector is aware of it not being done, then there's a, it'll sunset, like any, but so it's just a matter of when could we ask if the council approved this, when would they pull the permit?
So I would say as soon as possible, like next week.
Could you ask her?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working along with her. We've been trying to, dice que si aprueban esto, ¿cuándo puede sacar el permiso? Para empezar a arreglar ahí. La próxima, yo digo que la próxima semana.
Mañana mismo me lo
She said tomorrow. We just been holding off and waiting for a really long time for this day, so.
Okay. All right.
I said next week.
And you understand that you cannot occupy it until the work is done?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
correct.
Good, Mayor, if I may, because if a permit was pulled, let's say in the ideal world, this didn't happen, they started the process to get it properly installed, but they still have to do a number of things without the variance before the inspector would say it's ready for permanent power. All the skirting, the steps, the porches, the plumbing, the septic tank, they've got all that, the water connection, all that sort of there, but they just have to, they have to do that anyway. Any relief granted by the city would just allow them to continue, and then the permit would allow them to do any carpentry and any other work needed to make it, livable.
Do they have to submit drawings to you?
Not, well, it's a residential permit, so normally no.
Okay.
Unless they have submitted some information but the building inspector would be able to going out there and do his framing inspection to see if they weren't following building code for the roof pitch. So, because it would be, this is 1986 Fleetwood that's, it is what it is. It was inspected at the time it was built, and it met all applicable state codes then.
Yeah.
So really, your inspector is just making sure that it's installed and it's hooked up properly and that it meets the zoning on the things we've discussed.
Do they also inspect the interior of it?
Normally, no, because see, it has already been inspected when it was constructed, and it had the DCA logo on it, and the city would not allow any manufactured homes prior to 1976 to be placed in the city because it was before the HUD code standardizes it. So unless they were doing some sort of, they put in walls differently than what's already there, which then they would go and look. I imagine most of the inspectors' inspections would be on the exterior and the connections to the utilities.
Okay, all right.
Because they've got it sitting on piers now, they just have to complete the underpinning process per your code.
Right. Okay. In an effort to make the inspection processes run smoothly, are you going to be a point of contact?
Yes, I can be a point of contact.
Okay. Okay. Just as a translator?
Yes, I guess.
Okay, because it would be, there's already been confusion, and we want to go ahead and prevent that in the future if a variance is granted, that we need to have somebody our inspector can call and communicate with to make sure that everything is moving smoothly.
Thank you.
Los permisos de la inspección, que ellos vienen a inspeccionar.
Oh, no necesito. She was asking if you needed the, I guess the permits of the inspections from previous.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Do you guys have any other questions? Anybody?
I would simply ask is, if we were to approve this, do you have any recommendations to us as council, as anything we might need to include in our?
If you're gonna do a motion to approve, I would do a motion to approve and then list every single condition that you want as part of that, or it doesn't get at it. So, I know there's some work that needs to be done with the house, and Joe's probably gonna list that stuff. I would just.
Can we reference his?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I would do it specifically, though. I would prefer it to be read directly, but that's how I would do it.
Do you guys have this? Do you have this sheet?
I don't have anything. I have read it.
Let's have a little discussion first, okay, guys? If you would. I'm going to go down the sheet, and if you would, somebody, whoever is going to be making a motion, let's go ahead and write these things down so that we can make the motion properly.
Yes.
First time around, the first question was, the sketch was done, and it shows that there are the correct size porches on the front and the back. 5 foot by 10 foot on the front and a 6 foot by 5 foot on the back.
10 by 5 and 6 by 5.
And 6 by 5. And then the, each door, That's it states that there were no more porches that were going to be added, other than those two, the front and the back. The roof line would change to accommodate the 512 pitch. The larger eaves or roof overhangs will be put in place as the new roof is going in to meet the code of the city.
What's the size on those eaves? Is it 16?
It's 12.
12.
It's 12 is minimum.
Mhm.
Normally they're 8 for a manufactured house.
They'll be pressure washing and painting the home after the installation is complete, not replacing siding. And skirting will be put on the underside. And of course, it will be beautiful on the outside.
Yes.
I would also like to encourage, we need to make sure that there is a contact person and phone number. And I'd like to put a condition on it that it needs to be done within a year, at least, or done if anybody else has something else to add.
I had a little bit of a discussion. Council talked about rezoning this property so that we wouldn't have to have variances like this in the future. As a council member, I did not vote to rezone it because I have a different view for the area over there. So I am keeping that in mind while thinking about voting for this variance. I think that the House bill, is it a House bill or a state bill?
Senate bill.
Senate bill. I think that that serves a really good purpose, and I am for that. But that's all I have to say.
And this is an unusual situation because had they known in advance that they needed maybe a newer mobile home, they could have been applying for something with a newer model that would have met within the Senate bill. So I think we need to, as council, take that into consideration, why we might give this variance versus not providing it.
Is council prepared to make a motion? Decision on this?
I make a motion that we approve this variance to include the two porches, the front 5 by 10 feet and the back 6 by 5 feet, to include the roof pitch changes as requested by Mr. Walters, the 512 and accommodate those, and the larger eaves of 12. And for cleaning and painting, I think they said pressure washing, cleaning paint's fine for me, and the skirting to be included, and that this process be completed within a year, and that we need a good contact point. And I would include in that an address, since there appears to have been difficulty getting mail, if we could have a secondary address, so that if we do need to write something.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second?
An next second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
Well, thanks a lot. You're the mayor. I believe that the applicants were turned away because the city had not updated their employees appropriately. And because of that, it was a mistake on the city's part. And I vote in favor of the variance.
Thank you so much.
With those conditions.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All my contact information. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, then. We're going to get to reports, but before we start on anything, I'm going to invite Dana up. Because Dana, for some reason, you just have the hardest time. You're one of the most important people.
Probably you're gonna come up.
Minutes,
Or if,
my minute change.
New business. Oh, sorry.
hang tight,
You can still.
I'll just take it.
You won't take it.
I'm sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
All right, I'm going back to the December 14th minutes and a couple of changes that.
Can I just make it in the form of a motion? And we have discussion, Johnny? Make a motion that we make 2 minor changes to the December 14th, 2023 minutes. First is a call to order, change it to read meeting call to order by Mayor Pro Tem Moncrief. And then under agenda approval, to strike audio could not be heard because she worked from her notes and that would be irrelevant. And that the motion passed 2-0 versus 3-0.
Is there anything else? No? Is there a second on that motion?
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Dana?
We had an exciting day at the library today. We started back with our Read to the Dog program, and this is Oliver.
Oh, gosh.
This picture is very deceptive. He is 175 pounds. Of complete sweetness and cuteness. The kids loved every minute of Oliver. Oliver is famous. He's in the Jeep going on a bear hunt commercial. He's going to be in some upcoming movies as well. He is a champion show dog, and he is 2 points away of being a grand champion show dog. He's 5 years old, and the kids just had the best time with him today. So he'll be making regular visits to the library. Hopefully he'll be back in April, May, June, and July at least. But you can also visit Oliver at the Monroe Library and at Social Circle Library. His trainer is Sabrina, and she also will be bringing a 4-year-old, very similar looking female, about 135 pounds, and her name is Amber. So you will either see Oliver or Amber at the library for Read to the Dog. He was just precious and sweet as can be. So I was excited about that because that's what I got to do at the end of the day today before coming here, is see all the kids just loving and petting and reading to Oliver. I also would like to report that we had 2 events recently on Saturdays that were very successful. We had a very successful genealogy workshop by the DAR, which was amazing. There were 5 attendees who brought 5 friends with them, and there were 5 instructors helping everybody on their genealogy projects. And they had a great time and were very successful. So that was wonderful, and I'm so thankful to the DAR for doing programs like that. We also had the Girl Scouts. I want to thank them. Our local Girl Scouts do a lot for our community. They're the ones that started the food bank at the library, which is so successful. I'm so proud of that food bank. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but 1 to 3 people donate to it per day, and usually 1 to 10 people use it per day. So it fills up every day, and sometimes it empties every day. But it never stays empty, just like it never really stays full. So, but that's a good thing. Yes.
My son had a question, actually.
I know, I have to talk to our regional office to see if they would approve a refrigerator. We do have a refrigerator though, so what I can approve is putting a sign up that says, if you are in, I wanted to make it completely independent, but I can put up a sign that says, if you are in need of eggs, milk, yogurt, whatever, please let us know and we will, get that for you. because we do have a large refrigerator in our kitchen area in the library that, we've had people donate milk and things like that before, that I just simply ask people, do you need some milk? And if they say yes, I get it for them and I give it to them. But we can make a sign if somebody donates items to say these items are available, just let us know, because I would need permission from our regional office to put a refrigerator in the front of the library. But it's not like we're gonna turn away food, so. And also, we had a local farmer donate boxes and boxes of fresh vegetables. We gave them all away within 2 days.
Wow.
So, we make sure people are getting any donations that come to the library. We have Sharoya Ham coming next Thursday at 1 o'clock for her parenting seminar. I highly recommend that. It's going to be based off of her book, but also a lot of other parenting books. She is a specialist, she is a parenting coach, and she's international. So she's helped families all over the world. Let's see. Oh, another thing I'm really excited about is we had 3 chess sets donated to the library. So every Saturday in March, we will start a brand new chess club. This was also at the request of parents and children who are in chess clubs at their schools, which don't meet very often. So they wanted a place where they could get more practice and meet more often. So I'm excited about the donations for that, and I'm excited that that will be every Saturday in March. And then I'm almost finished. So back to the food pantry, I'm really grateful for all of the citizens and all of the different sponsors that we have for the food pantry. It is essential to our community. It has become essential, and it does take a lot of volunteers actually, but I'm thankful for every single person who donates. And we get new donors every day, but we also get more people using it every day. I also want to mention Andrea Raphael. She's been working really hard on establishing our Friends of the Library group, so there's going to be a lot of things coming in the future with that. But I just want to recognize her for all of the help that she is providing to get some extra funding for our library for smaller programs. I do all the fundraising right now by myself for all the programs that we have, so it'd be really nice to have an extra person helping me with that. But we're in great shape. Donations are good for the library. And lastly, we will be closed Wednesday, February 21st. It's an annual training day for all regional staff members of the Azalea Library System. It's one day that we all get together for training. And so I just want to remind everybody that that's coming up on the 21st, so we'll be closed that day. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes.
You mentioned that you did the genealogy. Does the library locally have the Ancestry
Yes.
program access?
It has a new name. It's called Quest something. So here's the good thing about Ancestry. It used to be Ancestry.com, but it's now called Quest. I'm just drawing a blank on it.
Okay.
But in the past, you had to access it through Galileo. And in order to access Galileo, you needed a password. There's no longer a password required for Galileo. All you need for Galileo access is a valid library card and your PIN number. So anybody can access genealogy through Galileo with just a library card, as long as it's not expired, and put in their PIN number.
Do they still have the access to build their trees on the library?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. What I did was when the genealogy, when they had the genealogy workshop, I decided to go to the Quest through Galileo, and I wrote out step-by-step instructions on how to build like a family tree. And I was able, in 5 minutes, I was able to look up my great-grandparents, which I didn't know their real names or their last name or their middle name, and so that was really just in 5 minutes with no training, and it's very simple to do. So everybody can do that. There's a lot of programs through the library though. So AzaleaLibraries.org has all of the family passes and all the programs and services that you can get just with a library card. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Right, you're welcome.
Okay, we don't have a Public Works report today. Linda, I'm going to let you say bye.
Let me do, you want me to?
Why we don't have a public works report?
Oh, we don't have a public works report because our public manager is home on, what do they call it? Paternity leave. He and my son Brian and his wife Brianna, they had their precious little baby boy, my grandson, Friday at 6:35. And he's sweet and precious. He looks like his dad. His granddad would be all over him if he was here. But it's just the most awesome experience in the world. I have two nephews and a niece that are actually my brother's grandchildren, but they've been mine ever since they were born, like 13 years. But so this baby, Bo, his name is Bo. He's actually my fourth grandchild because I can't just own the ones I've had all these years. But he is just so precious and so sweet. And I appreciate everybody's prayers and thoughts for them.
And we want to welcome our newest citizen.
Yes. A new taxpayer.
And the guys in Public Works have been doing a very good job.
And I would like to comment on that too. Robert and Craig have done an excellent job of keeping things going so Brian could be at home. So that's a testament to Brian and to them, that they can work just as well with him at home as they can with him looking over their shoulders. They're good men.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
City Clerk report. Kimberly.
Yes, okay. We had, I have a little different things to report, but I'll do the tickets first. We had 18 county tickets, 6 state patrol, no pavilion or ball field, but I'm sure that's about to change because of the weather. We're gonna start reporting on what we have in each of our funds. You want me to go through and, okay. All right, so in our general fund, we have $747,285. Our 2019 SPOSS, we have $776,082. Our money market account, we have $739,335.83. Our new sewer money market account, it's a big number, $1,175,239.09. And then our sewer operating has $4,667.
4,006 and what?
4,667 and then 6 cents.
And I'd like to request that we start getting that information in our packet again.
We can do that.
I sent the financials over. It's just, we gotta figure out a way to get it to print into a packet where they can see it.
Okay, for the mayor's report, I'm going to keep things moving. We told you at the last meeting that we applied at the last moment for the LMIG. It's a grant. It's for local maintenance and improvement grant, and Rachel and I were able to get that in under the wire. It usually opens up in July every year for that year, fiscal year. And we got it in, and we've already gotten a check for $20,192.71. So that's a good thing. And that's for, we did road improvements, striping, and stormwater repair.
What
It has
was
to go to those
the
things.
dollar amount again?
$20,192.71. At this time, if anybody has any questions or comments, it's a town hall portion of the meeting, and you're welcome to come up and ask any questions or make a comment.
I would just like to say that I appreciate the work that Brian's guys have been doing around the library. It looks amazing. It looks better than it ever has. The Fairy Garden property is cleared out, which will help with, I always had fear of snakes, rodents, children getting bit by things up there, and now it's completely cleared out. So that will also help reduce the insects and probably the mosquitoes, along with the bat houses that the Girl Scouts are making. So the property looks great, and I really appreciate their efforts.
Thanks, Dana. Anybody else have anything?
I do.
Kelly?
I just wanted to let mainly you guys know, but Wayne Denzel's funeral is tomorrow, and I'm speaking,
Okay.
if you wanted to come. So I can imagine you in your underwear.
I was gonna go, Kelly, but. Does anybody else have anything to add? Yes,
I want
ma'am.
to say thank you for letting us hear y'all today. The speakers are working.
That is the hard work of Rachel and Maxine came down here and made sure that we didn't have to be the Brady Bunch anymore on the little notepads. And everybody could see us clearly, and we're glad that you can hear us. Thanks.
We're hoping to make more improvements to that, but it's a start.
Yeah, we got that quote for 20,000 to update things, and somehow we have the skills, so we're getting it done. And when I say we, I do not mean me at all. This is not me at all. Does anybody else have anything else to say or comment or anything? No? Okay. That leads us to our council comments, and we'll start with Maxine tonight.
Well, no, I was gonna ask them if they were able to hear us tonight.
Well, there you
They
go.
already answered it, so thank y'all for being here.
Erica?
I don't have anything. The grant money, what account does that go into?
Goes into general fund.
Oh, okay, all right. That's it. Thanks for everybody for showing up. I love to see citizens take part.
Rachel?
I'm excited. Feel like we're getting a lot accomplished. And especially if we can do it for free 99 and save us 20 grand. Yes, I'm all for that. I'm real happy that everybody came out tonight. I'm really glad that we're including other members of our community. Thank you for that wonderful idea there, to give invocation. Appreciate that. Appreciated seeing Mr. Black here. And thank all y'all for being here, supporting us, talking to us. Hope we're making you proud.
And Linda?
I would like to say that in memory of Wayne and Kathy Dinsdale, Kathy died a couple of months ago, and they were both longtime servants of the city, worked hard for the city, good friends, known them for years, and they lived right across the road from me for years, and they'll be missed.
Thanks, Linda. We do not have an executive session tonight, so without any further ado, I am going to adjourn the meeting. Bam, bam. All right. Oh, but yes, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.